Here's what we're gonna do. When tinting windows, you start off clean, you end up clean. Protection. Cover that rascal. So we're gonna cover the panel. Alright. Even though this is a practically new vehicle, we're gonna make sure that crack's clean before we put our stuff in it. So, see all that? That's potential stuff that could be in your film. Some of these new model vehicles, I don't particularly use a razor blade on them because you don't need it. And anybody that's ever done any body work or any kind of work like that can attest to this. You need to be able to see to match colors. But to do the correct body work, it's not even really as important as it is to be able to feel. So that's where this part's gonna come in. You feel. You know, there ain't but one more place on your body that has any more than the tips of your fingers. What I'm doing this for is I'm feeling this before and after. If I assess that window, if I'd have felt anything that needed to be warranted for a razor scraper, that's what I'd have done, but we didn't. This is something we developed. It looks like a lot of some of these corner tubes. This right here is Zytel 66 nylon. This thing's harder than Chinese arithmetic. So, cool thing about it's not gonna scratch your windows. You can get this way further up in there than you can a razor blade. Somebody say, why safe prep? Well, this is not gonna go all the way up in there. I don't care. A razor blade is only so long. We can get this up in there. We can go way up in there with it. So, when you're using this, it's like if you can get that little spot in there, you go, I got it. Sometimes you can't reach that spot and you have to change tools. Some folks don't have that luxury. If you don't have this tool in your arsenal, you can't do it. But you're not going to scratch a window with this, I can guarantee that. Anything else is up in the air. Sometimes when I prep like I'm squeegeeing. I'll take this thing, and any residue on the film, anything seen, I get over here and I gather it up and I shove it down here in the corner. Now, that part is done. Now I'm going to take my bottle and I'm going to flush this corner. I used to build and sell tanks, still do when somebody wants one, but we don't advertise it. I use tanks for commercial installation, residential. I don't use them on cars, there's no need. You see mine, I use on the peel board to keep it wet. That's it. This right here is the length. That tip goes up in there. A lot of folks, I'll watch them, they'll prep with a hard card. Hard card will not put enough drag on the glass to pull any contamination off on that. Now, I'm gonna take all this right over at this front corner. I overlap. Sometimes I'll do a never lift deal or all that stuff, but on this is what I'm doing. Now, another thing is contamination issues. One of your worst enemies is this. This is a microfiber towel. See, this is stuck to it. Everything sticks to this. I prep the crack with it, but you'll never see me put it back on the glass after I've squeegeed it. It'll lay here. This is a lint-free glass cloth. You always want to make sure you wipe your surroundings. And you're done. That way all that's cleaned up. Anywhere where that film might potentially touch, we go ahead and prep. Now, I'm going to bottom load this, but I'm noticing something about this window. It's going to be sort of tacky when we put the film on it because it's beading water. So I'm going to put extra water on it. See, right, you see here it's going to slide here, but right there that would be a tacky spot. So if you're having trouble with your film sticking and being hard to slide, that's going to be it. Now, some folks will be saying, "Ah, that sure is a lot of water." Yep, it is. We won't slip her. Here's the thing. This thing's designed. Where do y'all think when water lands on the outside, where does it go? Do you think it disappears, just goes away? No, it goes down into the framework of the door. The door has drains. See it right here? It runs out. It's not going to hurt anything. But you've got the door panel covered. So that's got that part. Now, we're going to peel this, and I always like to wet the outside of the film and the liner. And a lot of folks, there's a misconception about plotter cutting. I hand cut for many years, but when you got your plotter set on kill, you don't have to go over there and separate the panels and weed them. It weeds them itself, just like this. And you just hang it over that. Well, just drop it right there for right now. We're gonna use that torch in a minute. Got Shane running the camera here. I'm gonna let y'all meet Shane in a minute. How long we been friends, Shane?
I don't know, 20 years maybe.
20 years, we family now. Shane has another job, but he knows the value of working. So he'll come and work with me on Saturdays when nobody else will. And sometimes he'll work on Fridays when he has a day off because of the shift he works. We're old school. We work together, cleaning up cars and everything else. Had some adventures and some damn misadventures. But anyway, now I don't believe in touching the back side of the film. That's how you get a grid on it. So that's why I'm handling it like this. And I'll get this thing like I want it. Drop it over here. I drop the short side in first. Feed it down. See this joker sticking out? We got our slip solution mixed for one that's not going to be sticky, so it just takes us a little longer to slide it in there. And if you ever let this film fold over like this, don't do it where it'll crease. If you do, you'll get zipper creases. Let it roll in an even roll or an arc. Now bring this thing down, and the reason I do this is I want to get it where I want it, and I'll take this and roll it back in like this. That's why I wipe the top edge of that glass off, so when that film's up there. So when you're pushing this back, you never want it to have a pucker. You'll either crease or get a pinch, or it'll suck debris up in there. Anywhere where there's a finger, the reason that finger is there is because it's pulling vacuum, because it's not laying flat on the glass. When it pulls a vacuum and you've got it off the glass, it can pull debris right up in there. Now I'm going to shave this with you guys, do the whole works on it. This film fits great, but there's always somebody who wants to know about shaving, a couple other things, and this film could fit better. It's a film and vinyl designs pattern. We take the long pattern and I add some to it. I always come around this back side and make sure there's no gap right here. A lot of people will just put it on and start squeezing. If you got a gap here, it's going to look like hell. So we've done that. Now I'm going to push this thing back up like this, and I'm going to tack it off. I want my back here to be almost flush, and my front, for some reason on this pattern, it's almost flush, but we're humped up across the top. And something else I covered on that too. A lot of folks will go, God dang, these patterns don't fit good. Why don't these people on these sites that put these patterns on there do something about it? Well, I'll give you a hint on that. The person that takes this window at the factory where they make the glass has a template or a jig that they sand the edge of this window. It has a tolerance within a certain specification that it has to meet, and once it meets that, they're good to go. They grab another piece of glass and go. They're not going to sit there and just keep on and keep on and keep on. It's called production. This rubber up in here makes up a certain amount of the difference that it can or can't have in discrepancy. So whoever cut this pattern and sent it in used it off a piece of glass. It might have been an aftermarket window, or it might have been another window that didn't meet the exact tolerance that this particular window on the vehicle you're working on does. So therefore, it's not going to be a perfect match every time on the top edge. So learn to shave, leave a gap, have it uneven, or might hurt your feelings, learn to hand cut. Pretty simple. We're going to lock it in with the one blade. 85 diameter here, 93 over here. I'm going to lock it down. First pass is going to be just sort of light. And I don't recommend jamming this squeegee up in here. You'll hydro flush water, inject it back out, and if you've got a finger, what's it going to do? Anything that's left up in there is going to blow it right back up under it. Then you're going to make an ass out of it. Now I'm going to show you another thing that I do to assure when I shave and I do everything I do. I'm going to leave this window down just a little bit so I squeeze you up in that back corner where that radius has got us blocked off, just like this. Now you see this film's still moving. That's what happens. You got a whole lot of slip in it, and you put a whole lot of slip solution between the film and the glass. I'm going to go ahead and lock this piece of film in. Now, this is not laminated glass, so I can do this. If you're dealing with laminated glass, I don't recommend it. When I do this, I prefer a torch over a heat gun because I'm concentrating this little bit of heat right where I want it, about 1 inch below the top edge. If you go too high the top edge and your film's over the top edge, it will shrink it and roll it under, then it won't lay down. So I'm gonna do this, and here's what we've got. I'll reach here and feel, and we're warm. But it's not even heated down here. It's not heat all the way up here, but the heat rises, so it'll generate some heat up there. I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna wrap my hard card with a towel. I'm gonna bump that edge, dock the edge, whatever you wanna call it. Now, when doing this, it's simple. Push it and lift. Don't go up and drag it back down and catch your film, because your film's hanging over that edge. Push it up and lift. Lock it in. And doing this, there's people that will watch this, and I'm a critic myself, but I don't publicly try to call anyone out on anything. If they ask a question, I'll try to help them with it. But a lot of people will try to prep, install, and finish all with the same squeegee. They can do it with success, but they're that person that when they sends a car out, they got to put 9 stickers on it and make them sign an agreement where you won't roll the window down, or you have to give 6 quarts of blood from your firstborn or some shit like that. When they leave here, they can roll the window down, because you know why? We put it 1 inch below the rubber and we preheat the top. That's just another thing there. So I'm gonna roll this up, but I'm not gonna take it all the way up, because this right here is over. You see how it's, get closer right there where they can see that, Shane. You see how it's still wet and I'm pulling it off the glass? That's really a no-no. When I do that, it pulls a vacuum. So I'm gonna take this thing up to about right here, where it's not touching. I'm gonna sort of squat down and see that. It's not touching that. So now here's what I'm gonna do. And you can see we got it up far enough to where Honda logo showing, so we can go ahead and finish this off down here. Once you've heated up here, you don't want to take your squeegee. You want to know where it's the heated line's at, feeling it with your hand. You don't squeegee back over that. You'll give ghosting and ghost trails. Now y'all notice this, I'm not putting a whole lot of slip up here on this. This is the missing link. It has a 3mm wide by 19mm, 3mm thick by 19mm wide sledgehammer channel blade on it. We sell it by the roll, sell it by the piece. You can put it in your favorite side swiper. We sell a sidewinder or in this link. And the reason we call this the link, it's the missing link between a hard card and a handheld squeegee with a handle. This thing, we got 3 different blade durometers for it. It goes up in the corner. This is pretty much what I used to finish the glass off with. But I'm gonna go ahead and spray that on there. And this right here, like I say, is the 1-2, the blade. We hadn't advertised a whole lot. It's a hybrid style blade. 85 durometer prep blade on top, or general installation blade. 93 extraction on the bottom. And why I say it's a hybrid, you can use both sides of this blade without taking it out. If you want to prep, flip it over backwards, you got the 85 durometer at your disposal because of the hybrid edge technology like that we cut them with. Because this edge right here is hanging over this, so you've got that. But now if you want to extract to make sure you get all the water out, this is where the magic comes in. I'm gonna push all this right here and let you guys see just how much water this blade moves. When I get all the way over here at the corner, you'll be able to see the puddling of the solution. And this right here was what would, in, I don't know, other words it would be, I'm gonna bring it up like this. If you can imagine this one bubble right here. Let me rough that off. I don't know if it's the lighting's where you can see it or not. Go back and forth and see that big old sag right there. Y'all see, does it look blurry from the camera? That right there will be a gazillion little evaporation bubbles all over it, and the customer calls and says, "Oh no, my car's got bubbles in the window." No, it doesn't. It's evaporation stuff. So if you don't extract and you try to use too soft a squeegee to finish with, that's where your problem's gonna come in. Now watch, I'm not gonna wet this window. This is how good these blades work. Some people say their blades are self-lubricating. Some people don't have to tell you, you just know when you use them. So it's this is not just some material you can buy off of a Chinese trading company, because that's just not the case. That's not where it comes from, and we'll leave it at that. But that's in there. I'm gonna take this tool and go completely down here below where we were at. Now, I didn't snap this window. I didn't shrink it on the outside. And this is a Honda. Most folks know Hondas means you gotta shrink the window before you put it on or snap it. Okay. So now we've done all that. This window's in, it's prepped, it's installed. Now we're gonna get down to nitty gritty. One more time. I'm gonna bump this edge. I'm gonna go up past it. And I'm lifting, coming back before I pull it down. I'm going fast enough where it doesn't look like I am, but we're working it up and taking the cloth off of the glass before we do it. What's the trick to shaving? Practice, the feel, the right blade, just being comfortable, and not having too much hanging over. But I'm gonna take this. This is a 30-degree carbon blade. It's called a Pro Snap. We have them on our site. I've got slip tape wrapped around the edge of my knife, so the metal knife blade will ride against the glass. I'll put just a little bit more out, and I like to use this finger as a guide, and this one like this. Now, I can zip down through here really fast and run that thing down and do whatever, but it's all about this angle. Now, I'll go so far one direction, then I'll turn the other direction and come back up. Just like this. And I can do it in one pass. The truth is, one pass works, but I had rather do it in two passes and double check my work, fill it with my hand first, make sure everything is on the up and up, so when I roll that window up, I'm sure that I'm good to go. Now once I do one pass like that, I'm gonna snap off that section that was out there. It's like this, because I'm just gonna use the tip of it, because the tip has just a little bit of flex, and we'll roll again. I'm gonna put just a little more angle on it this way. Now, I'm not putting a ton of pressure. When I say practice, you'll learn to feel the drag of the blade and know how much pressure to put on. But you see that tiny little sliver that it's cutting off of there. That's that little sliver that will be catching up in the edge of the door when you roll it up and make it peel later on. Sometimes if it catches like that, don't keep going. You can cut into the, roll the film off the glass and cut into it. But see that little tiny sliver rolling off there? It's like peeling an apple. Look at that curly little sliver right there. That's it. And now, once that's done, your glass edge is perfect. It's where it needs to be. You've got a tech job you can be proud of. You know it's not going to roll back. And when you roll it up and down. The thing is a job well done is peace of mind, and it leaves you with a good feeling.